Hello everyone, I'm Nini FC and this is Blue Lions TV. Welcome to the match preview for our upcoming game tomorrow against Cardiff. And you guys, apologies for why I've been away for such a long time. I've actually had a pretty bad back injury, so I haven't really been able to actually sit up. I've been lying down a lot of times, so it's been kind of annoying. It's been really frustrating too, so I apologise for that. But you guys, enough of me moaning about my back injury. Getting straight into the match preview. Starting with injury concerns. Now, Emerson and Zappacosta are both out for the game tomorrow because, again, they have got the flu. It's annoying, but it seems like there was an outbreak in the Italy squad, and it looks like a lot of players got the flu. So Zappacosta and Emerson are out. And Ruben Loftus-Cheek is going to be out for the next 2 weeks because he got a slight injury too against the game against Switzerland as well. So he's not going to be playing a part in this game. Now, you guys, you know how I do things. I like to review the press conference. Then I talk about the threat of our opposition team. And then I talk about how we can exploit that and how we can win the game. Starting with reviewing the press conference, and it was quite interesting. There were a few interesting things that Sarri was talking about. Starting with the first one, that's in regards to John Terry, and Sarri was basically saying that he's spoken to Terry. Terry has said that he wants to play for another year, but if he decides to change his mind, he's happily have him back at Chelsea in a coaching capacity. As Sarri said himself, he's a great reference for the squad. And it's nice to have that versatility when it comes to backup players. Sarri briefly spoke about Ruben, Hudson-Odoi and Ampadu, and saying that they have bright futures at the club. So many managers have said that, but in regards to Ampadu, one of the main reasons as to why Sarri hasn't really used him is because, and again, I've said this so many times and it makes a lot of logical sense, he wants the first choice defenders that really understand that defensive system. If you're constantly swapping and exchanging players to play in defence, you're only going to make the process much longer. So again, there's logic behind it. And for the most interesting thing of the press conference, Sarri was stating that he knows who his new captain is going to be for the season. In the meantime, Azpilicueta is going to maintain the captaincy, but in the next week there's going to be a change and he's going to inform us very soon once he's spoken to the players and spoken to the club. Now, moving on to the predicted lineup part of the video, and it looks like it's going to be the same team that we did use against Bournemouth. It makes a lot of sense, as I keep stressing all the time. There's a reason why I'm not really doing predicted lineup videos in its own separate thing. That's because our lineup's going to be pretty much the same week in, week out, because the players need to quickly get used to the new system, and it really just slows things down if you're constantly changing and swapping in players. So again, it looks like it's going to be the same lineup which we used against Bournemouth, which makes a lot of sense. With injuries too to Emerson, Zappacosta and to Ruben, the only players really likely to have a place in the first team, it looks like for sure there's definitely not going to be any surprise changes in the team. It boosts Cesc Fabregas's chances of actually being on the squad bench, and that's because obviously Ruben's out, Barkley's there, and a lot of times, Sarri, he does like to have two midfielders or one, so it'll be interesting to see what happens there. I think with our back line, for me personally, I think that we're seeing improvements week in, week out. I'm expecting us to get that clean sheet tomorrow, so of course there aren't going to be any changes there, which is a bit annoying when it comes to Christensen, but it looks like he'll get his first start of the season against PAOK, so he's going to have to wait until Thursday. But really, you guys, when it comes to that game on Thursday, that's when we're most likely to see changes in that game on Thursday, so people are going to have to be patient. Now, moving on to the opposition analysis, talking about Cardiff City. Now, for this part of the video, it's going to be a bit lengthy, and that's because of comments made by Warnock stating that he's looking for Cardiff to give it a go against Chelsea tomorrow. They're not going to be parking the bus, and it's going to be quite interesting to see what they do. Now, of course, immediately logic's going to tell us there's a difference between just parking the bus and defending to play on the counter-attack. Of course, what I think Warnock means is that Cardiff will look to flood men forward on the counter-attack. They're not just going to sit back and defend and have their strikers behind the halfway line, but naturally they're not really going to keep much possession. I mean, against Bournemouth and Arsenal, teams that do keep possession in this league, Cardiff barely kept the ball against them. Against Bournemouth, they kept 37% of the possession, and against Arsenal, they kept 27% of possession. And they're playing against Chelsea, the team that have been the best team in possession in the league so far this season. I'm expecting Cardiff to have possession similar to their game against Arsenal. But as I said, Warnock's going to be hoping his team are going to flood forward when it comes to creating those counter-attacking opportunities. Their goals they scored against Arsenal really gave us an indication to this, because each goal they scored, they had about 4 players inside Arsenal's box, so they'll be looking to do the same thing. But currently this season, Cardiff haven't picked up a single win. They've drawn twice against teams that have been down to 10 men, and they've lost twice against attacking style teams as well. But when it comes to Cardiff, you might be thinking, they're probably just a team that like to just sit back, defend deep and use long balls. They're actually much more sophisticated when it comes to that, and there's a reason why Warnock is probably the best manager at helping teams get promoted from the Championship to the Premier League, and he's a pretty underrated manager. Now with Warnock, he likes to set up his teams pretty differently, but before I get into that, I'm going to give you the lowdown on their philosophy and what Warnock likes his teams to do. Now when it comes to defending, Cardiff had the reputation of being the best defensive team in the Championship last season. That's how they built their foundations, but it's not just about parking the bus and sitting deep. There's a lot more sophistication to it, and it's pretty fluid in terms of how they deal with threats defensively. For example, imagine Morata is about to win an aerial ball. What they normally do is Bamba would break the defensive lines, then push out to close down that aerial threat. And of course, with Bamba leaving his position, Joe Bennett or another player will come back and actually fill in that position for him. And in that way, they're able to really apply a lot of aggressive pressure to teams. Warnock likes his teams to use a man marking style when it comes to pressing, so each player playing for Cardiff knows who their man they need to deal with is, and they work very hard to fulfill what the manager expects from them. Now when it comes to how Cardiff like to attack, they like to use a lot of vertical passes. Now this doesn't necessarily mean it's just a long ball forward, it means that they like to use the pace of their front players. With Hoylett, Murphy, Lanes and Zahori up front, they like to use their pace in behind, and they like to get balls to those front guys. Now we know Hoylett from his time at Blackburn. He's a guy that likes to cut inside and take shots on goal, and that's strongly encouraged in the system that Warnock has developed at Cardiff. And also there's that threat for Murphy, who it looks like potentially he's not going to be playing a part tomorrow due to injury. And this leads into my next point, and it probably explains why Cardiff use a 4-4-2 against Arsenal. Now, so far this season's been pretty interesting. I mean, Cardiff's go-to system is that 4-3-3, but also they do like to use a 4-2-3-1, but they actually use a 4-4-2 against Arsenal, and it makes quite a lot of sense, and I'm expecting them to use a similar system against us tomorrow. And that's because, as I'm saying, Cardiff want to keep their defensive structure, but they want to be able to create those direct threats to their front players as well. And it makes sense to have Zahori playing up front with someone else as well. Of course, there can be situations where Hoylett's pace can actually play and link up with the front two as well. But by having 2 strikers up front, this means that Cardiff can play very direct, and they can play those long, direct, vertical passes to the front players, bypassing their midfield, because Cardiff, they're going to be using their midfield players to really just work hard and keep their defensive positions. But it's going to come down to those front 2 players and the wingers as well as Camarasa, the new box-to-box midfield player that they did sign on loan from Real Betis. So Cardiff going to be a pretty interesting team to play against tactically. And Warnock's comments about giving it a go against Chelsea tomorrow makes a lot of sense. I mean, think about it like this. Imagine you're playing against Chelsea and then Man City. You're guaranteed to lose both games. Now, if you go to play a type of tepid kind of defensive style of football and you get battered 3 or 4-0, that's going to affect your games coming after Chelsea and Man City. That's going to affect the confidence. If you try to give it a go, you're telling the players, I believe in you. If they do lose, at least they can tell themselves we gave it a good go, and that confidence is still going to stay within the squad. So it makes a lot of sense, and it's quite smart that Warnock's actually come out to actually state this. Now moving on to Chelsea, and how do I see us faring up against Cardiff? Now you guys, I feel pretty confident about getting the win against Cardiff tomorrow. And I think there's a few things as to why I feel so confident. Number one, the fact that we're going to dominate and control possession is going to be the key thing. And controlling possession is something I've always been a fan of in football, because when you control the game, you really dictate how things are going to play out in your favour. We know that Cardiff don't have the greatest counter-attacking threat, and we know that they like their wingers to actually track back and really help out with their fullbacks. So if their counter-attacking threat is mostly coming from the direct balls to the strikers and the wingers, over time they're going to get tired, and that's going to help us create those spaces between the lines where guys like Kovacic, guys like Hazard, Pedro, Willian, etc, etc. I've had so much joy in during the start of the season, and I really expect it to just continue and be the same thing. Now, Cardiff might try to do some interesting things. As I'm saying, they like to use a man-marking style, so it gets me thinking, how are they going to approach Eden Hazard and Jorginho? Now, you guys, some of you will know, when Italy played against Poland, Poland did a man-marking style system against Jorginho where there was a man constantly on him, which did affect his game in that sense. But at the same time, the Italy national team and the Chelsea squad are two completely different teams. And when you've got guys like David Luiz and Rudiger that can help relieve pressure, and you've got guys like Eden Hazard, and you've got Kovacic that can easily just drop deeper to be the passing outlet to free up space for Jorginho, I don't really see it being a problem. But at the same time, you know, Cardiff like their strikers to work very hard. If they've got two up front, I can imagine that one of the strikers is going to be on Jorginho. But at the same time, I don't really see that being too much of an issue or too much of a problem. But it's all about probabilities and boosting your chances of hopefully trying to get something from the game. So it makes sense that Cardiff will use that approach. It's going to be interesting to see how they cope with Eden Hazard. Now, as I said, someone will man mark him, but at the same time, with how fluid their defensive structure is when they do defend deep, I can imagine times where Bamba's going to break the lines to really help support against Morata and against Eden Hazard as well. But anyway, you guys, I stressed that point about how maintaining possession really helps us control the games, and I can just see us pinning back Cardiff. Yes, they might have some luck on the counter, but it's going to be quite minimal. They're not a very great counter-attacking team already, and with how well our front three are playing, I can imagine the joy in spaces they're going to get, especially with how we like to hug the touchlines with our fullbacks to really stretch the pitch and keep it as wide as possible. I'm not seeing Cardiff having much of a chance at all. I think if Cardiff were to get something, it's going to obviously come down to luck. And you guys, I'm always stressing this point. I prefer us to lose games where it's come down to us not taking our chances, the referee costing us, or teams being very, very lucky. I think over the past few years, we've seen us getting outplayed and outmuscled and outmanned, etc, etc. And really, that hasn't really been the Chelsea way in our recent history so far. You know, we've been a pretty dominant team over this past 12 years. But as I'm saying, that's the only way I can see Cardiff getting anything from this game. Hopefully from a set piece in their case. I don't see it happening though. I think that it's going to be a comfortable win for us. I've gone for 4-0. I see us keeping another clean sheet. I see Cardiff maybe having a good spell of maybe 15-20 minutes where they're really keeping their shape and working very hard. But I think when the game like this, when you get the first goal, that really messes up the opposition's plans. I see us getting that opportunity against Cardiff. What's really cost Cardiff this season as well is that they concede so many goals from individual mistakes, which is a bit uncharacteristic from how they were defending last year in the Championship. But at the same time, they are in the Premier League right now. It's a different level. So I'm expecting guys like Manga or Bamba to really make more mistakes. So it's going to be quite interesting to see. But you guys, as I said, I have gone for 4-0. In the comment section below, give me your thoughts and opinions. How do you see this game going? What's the score? Do you think Cardiff are going to give us a test? If you think they are, give me your thoughts and opinions as to why you think that's the case. You guys, later tonight, I'm going to be doing a Q&A live stream. So if you want your chance to have a question answered by me, make sure you come in tonight at 10:30 for the Q&A live stream. You guys, thank you for watching. I'm the FC. This is Blue Lines TV. Signing out.